Hey guys, I think it's time to discuss the impact of AI in game development. As you've seen from my past videos, I have an interest in helping out students or hobbyists get into game development, share my insights. But I think the question about AI needs to be answered before moving forward with other videos, because I do have an opinion about it, and hopefully I can clear your mind in this regard as well today. So throughout the video, when I say AI, so it gets a bit confusing with games because AI is already a discipline within games. It's a word commonly used to describe the behavior of usually other characters inside of a game, so either enemies or allies that interact with the game world alongside you. But in this video, unless I specify otherwise, when I mention AI, just picture ChatGPT or just any other AI system that includes image generation, chatbot, basically any AI application designed to perform tasks that are currently done by humans. Okay, so this is a pretty existential threat to us game developers, and it's something that we think about quite a lot. Are we getting replaced by AI? Is this inevitable? How soon is that going to happen? Today, I want to try and answer all of these questions. And AI in gaming is really hard to separate nowadays. It's always in the conversation. But I also think there is a little bit of a misconception there, because as you've seen from my first video on this channel, there's actually not a direct correlation between the rise of AI and gaming layoffs. I'm not saying there hasn't been any layoffs because of AI, but so far layoffs have been indirectly caused by AI, not as much a company purchasing an AI agent to do the job of a human. I think that has happened infamously at King, but the results haven't been great as far as we know. So this is not a common practice yet. And my personal estimate for direct layoffs caused by AI is probably in the lower thousands. So not a huge percentage compared to the 40,000 that have been laid off in this sector in the past 3 years. But as you might have seen from the recent EA acquisition news, AI is very much central to the current and future discussion. Specifically, there's been mention of the hope for AI to help reduce costs across the company in a very significant way. So choices like this will definitely lead to more layoffs. But again, I wouldn't picture a specific person or a department being replaced by an AI counterpart. Is more of a business strategy shift, and the results are not yet proven. So let's start where I think AI will have the biggest impact, which is solo developers and small teams. So a solo developer already can now use AI to generate art, code, music for the game, sounds, marketing assets. So for a small project, AI in its current state, with all the mistakes and issues that it has, is already useful. And this is also why we are discussing this, because for some other industries, the discussion is much more complicated since we don't have practical evidence that AI can help out. But with video games, the product that we build doesn't really demand that much accuracy or consistency. So that's why video games are considered a good application for AI. It's creative work. So something might look incorrect for some experts that really look into it. But for the general public, even if, say, a character has a different number of fingers on their hand, they might spot it. But in an artistic context, it's hard to determine if it's a creative choice or if it's a mistake by the author, in this case AI. And we have real evidence of this already happening in Call of Duty, for example, that released some AI-generated screenshots. I believe this was a few years ago now, and most of the community didn't really notice. I believe it took a few weeks or a month, perhaps, until somebody pointed that out. Okay, so this is why there's a very strong possibility for a game-making AI to emerge. And going back to solo developers, it's really easy to see why they will use AI, right? It will help them save money, even if the output of the AI might not compare to a human. If you tell a solo developer they can make a 3D asset, for example, for free, they might consider it compared to paying a freelancer or another studio to do it. Also, it will help them save time. We know that most AI applications are designed to give you a result immediately or almost immediately. And this is at the core of the experience of the AI that we know today. So if you are more tech savvy, you can set up your own sort of training for these AI systems. But the tools already available on the market work pretty well and are really fast. And lastly, AI can help scale. So if a developer knows exactly what they need to do, but they only have limited resources, they could feasibly use AI to essentially clone themselves. So input all of their knowledge, know-how into an AI agent and get more things done. I know this is a pretty generic analysis, but I think it pairs pretty well with the data that we have as far as new games released. So we know last year in 2024, there were a record 15,000 new games released on Steam. And this is a clear sign that solo developers are increasing and are making more games. And I think it might not be directly because of AI yet, but there is a huge market for this. What's also interesting about the stats on Steam is that out of the total playtime for Steam users, these new games only account for 15%. So the scenario that we are moving towards is an oversupply of games that are created by small indie developers cheaply and quickly and in really great quantities. So I would expect many more of these small, lower budget games struggling for visibility. So discoverability will be a huge bottleneck for these productions if they want to make a profit. So yeah, I'm not currently a solo developer, but if I was, I would pay big attention to this trend. And again, remember, discoverability will be a huge issue moving forward. And I don't see AI improving things in this regard at all. Now, when it comes to big productions, what is most commonly referred to as AAA, my opinion is that AI is never really going to reach the replacement point for game developers in this space. And this is because, as we pointed out before, AI in its current form is still not delivering consistent and polished products. And this is against the core idea of a AAA game, which wants to offer its audience a polished, flawless experience. So again, something you will hear very frequently nowadays is premium titles. Really what that means is something that meets player expectations. And expectations are huge now for AAA games. We want them to look great, to play really well. Performance needs to be perfect. So for AI to be considered in a AAA production, it needs to perform at a much higher standard than it is currently. Also, another benefit from AI, as we just said, is it's cheap. But for AAA productions, money is not really the biggest issue at the moment. Obviously, it is an issue, as you've seen with a lot of companies closing and game projects being cancelled. But again, as we've seen in my first video on this channel, these business issues were caused by different factors. I don't think AI can help that much in this regard. Where it could help is with time. So this is probably the biggest issue with AAA games at the moment. Could AI help with efficiency and cut development time? Well, with big productions, it's a bit harder to determine because unless the company has an R&D team dedicated solely for these kind of tests, most likely the company will need to pull away developers from a game project to train the AI using their knowledge and basically pause other tasks to invest time into this. So it wouldn't be an immediate swap from a human to an AI agent. The workflows and processes in AAA are so complex that I think integrating AI would take a significant time investment. So I'm not saying AI is not going to be used at all in AAA development. In fact, I'm pretty sure every AAA studio is evaluating AI at the moment. And I think it's safe to assume that it will be used to improve aspects that are already being worked on, like procedural content creation, automated QA, backtesting, obviously localization, and maybe more dynamic or complex storytelling as well. And as I said, I don't think AI will replace that many AAA game developers. So if we go back and look at the overall landscape of game development, I think AI will greatly increase inequality, and the gap between indie and AAA will widen dramatically. I think indies will flood the market with more titles than ever, and AAA studios will still struggle to push out titles, and I don't think will be helped by AI in a very significant way. I don't think this is too far-fetched of a prediction because it's essentially already happening. Okay? There's already a huge gap appearing, even with AI not being used to a significant degree as far as we know. So from this analysis, you can also see that AA studios, so the middle tier in terms of budget, will face the biggest squeeze. I expect a much harder time to have a successful business model because they might lack the volume advantage of indie developers, but also the quality advantage of AAA games. So yeah, in terms of players, we are seeing a rise in casual gamers, gamers that don't really want to spend too much money and are financially constrained. So they play less games, they're happy playing older titles, and this is going to be the target for these AI-generated games. While there's still going to be a premium audience, as you might have heard from the wording of something like Game Pass very recently, that is going to be expected to pay much higher prices for games. And these are going to be the enthusiasts that can afford new consoles, and the whole gaming hardware market will cater to them. Something worth mentioning with AI is also its application in platforms like Roblox or Fortnite. So these are games where users also can create and share experiences normally referred to as UGC, user-generated content. I think AI has a huge potential here, essentially to help people that are not game developers create games. However, since these platforms are fairly new, it's quite hard to predict what the market impact will be within these ecosystems. And finally, another application that I see for AI is actually solving the biggest problem in game development right now, which is validation. In short, most gaming companies are actually not really sure whether their product will succeed until it releases. Development cycles have ballooned and become incredibly long. So, throughout the development, pretty much all game studios are facing huge issues understanding if their game is good. And when it comes to the time of release, all of the market assumptions need to be reevaluated. So I think AI could really help out here, especially if it can gather data from real players and possibly offer insights to game companies into what they could change to make a game more successful. So to wrap it up, am I worried about AI replacing me? Yes, moderately. Since I am working for a big studio, I think the adoption of AI is gonna be quite a bit more difficult than, let's say, a 2 or 3 person indie studio. And while a lot of investors and companies have an interest in pushing for AI to replace developers, there really hasn't been a true AI revolution in gaming yet. Also, thanks to a very attentive audience that cares if their game is made in a certain way, if it's made with ethical practices. Because again, for AAA games at least, gamers are asked to spend quite a lot of money. So they care about how they spend their money, obviously. Unfortunately, this doesn't mean that restructuring will stop. I expect more layoffs to come. But again, for most of them, I don't think they will be directly because of a new magical AI agent replacing these people being laid off, but it will be more to do with business decisions or performance of the games released. So if you're starting a development or you are thinking about transitioning to game development, you probably should start thinking about this transformation that is going to happen in the industry and where you want to position yourself, either as a solo developer or as somebody that has the know-how to be able to work for a huge game studio. And if you are hoping that AI will disappear because it's a bubble, well, it might be a bubble, but we are living in a state of capitalism where bubbles are fine. They can be perfectly profitable, like social media, for example, and thousands of businesses can be built on these bubbles, right? So with social network, for example, it's very hard to determine what the real value is, but the social networks are still around. So I think similarly with AI, even if it's hard to see concrete use cases sometimes, the speculative market is just doing its thing. So I don't think AI will disappear either. So yeah, let me know what are your thoughts on AI. I've been reading a lot of very sad testimonials of people losing their job because of AI, but not in this sector. And if you're interested in this specific topic and a more detailed breakdown of what the use cases of AI could be in game development, also please let me know. But don't worry, this channel is not going to be about this. I don't plan on focusing on AI at all. So tune in next time where we discuss remote work.